This is Shiki. He looks like a human, but he's actually a demon. To understand his story, we have to start from the beginning. There were demons roaming the earth like heavy-duty trucks. They were slaughtering humans and destroying everything in their path. To be honest, the massacres were unnatural. There were huge and terrifying demons who wanted to eliminate humans and wipe them from existence. But in the midst of all this despair, a human hero named Momotaro emerged. He stood against this tide with all his strength and might. He feared nothing and crushed a huge number of demons, leaving them scattered everywhere. One of Momotaro's men was holding a demon child in his hand, so he kept him and saved him from the fires of a war he was innocent of. One of Momotaro's disciples came to warn him, "Sir, this boy is dangerous. His blood has evil in it. We must kill him." But the man was stubborn and insistent on his decision. Years and years passed, and the demon child grew up to become the hero of our story. The boy's name is Shiki. He looks like a normal human, but he's obsessed with weapons. He collects every type of weapon. Suddenly, his adoptive father, Suichi, came in and gave him a beating after he found out he had been expelled from school. But Shiki was calm and didn't care about anything his father said. He told his father, "Don't interfere in my life." The boy had a strong gaze and spoke sharply to his father. His father saw the amount of weapons in his room and asked him, "Son, what are all these damn weapons you've collected?" His father looked at him and said, "I have a shop, and I don't want to lose my customers because of your strange behavior." But Shiki looked at his father and said, "Don't get into my life again. Your shop is a failure, and all your customers say so." This hit a nerve with Suichi, who felt deeply insulted and felt the boy was bullying him. He replied, "Have you forgotten yourself, you failure? You're just a stupid outcast. Get out of here, you dropout." The words pierced Shiki's heart like a knife. He looked at him and said, "I will never be like you. I don't share the same blood." It was a short sentence, but it contained a lot, with stories upon stories. Suichi had raised Shiki, but he wasn't his real son. Their relationship was strange and bizarre, between a human whose primary mission was to eliminate demons and a child who was, in fact, a demon. Their argument didn't stop until the phone at Suichi's shop rang. Despite all this, Shiki didn't know that his father had sacrificed himself and saved him from the Momotaro organization. Suddenly, an explosion happened outside, and thick smoke covered everything, as if it were a dust storm. As Shiki was trying to understand what was happening, a black mist attacked him and pulled him outside. One of Momotaro's men came to finish him off. Shiki was shocked and didn't know what was happening, because the boy didn't know he was a demon. Suddenly, a car came and hit the Momotaro fighter, saving Shiki at the last moment. The driver of the car turned out to be his father. He took him and fled the scene quickly before the Momotaro fighters regained consciousness. Suichi told Shiki, "You have to run away from this country quickly." But Shiki was surprised, thinking that this man was having problems with his father. Here, Suichi decided to drop a bombshell and tell him the truth he had been hiding for years. "You're not like humans. You're from a demon lineage, and that man is from the Momotaro organization." Shiki couldn't process this and didn't believe what he was hearing. At that moment, the Momotaro men caught up to them, and the car was covered in a lot of black mist. Suichi and Shiki were forced to get out of the car. The Momotaro men took advantage of the car explosion, kidnapped Shiki, and took him to an abandoned warehouse. They tied him up with a heavy black mist net. The man said in a terrifying voice, "The minds of these demons will make you a plague on humanity. I am from the Momotaro organization, and my name is Samidar." At that moment, Suichi came in to explain the story from the beginning. The war had been going on for thousands of years between the Momotaro and the demons. Now Momotaro's descendants have gathered again and formed the Hero Momotaro organization, which is what made the demons hide among humans like rats. Shiki still couldn't understand anything. The truth was too heavy for him, but his father said, "Stay where you are, son. This is for adults. It looks like it's going to be a tough battle between the two of you," between Suichi and Samist, and began fighting Samidar. The black mist was known among the organization, and only Momotaro fighters could use it. Suichi was a member of the Momotaro organization, which is why he had these abilities and could create the black mist. But Suichi hated the organization because it would expel anyone who disagreed with them. Samidar looked at Suichi and said, "Even if you change your name, you will always be a Momotaro. But since you raised a demon, you will be expelled from the organization." He attacked him to kill him, but Suichi refused to lose, especially since his son was in real danger. Shiki watched, shocked, his mind unable to believe or comprehend that he carried demon blood. So Suichi and Samadar fought each other. Samadar asked, "Why are you protecting this monster?" When Suichi attacked, Samadar used a hidden technique, dodged Suichi's attack, and then cut off his limbs at lightning speed. Suichi fell, drenched in his own blood, in front of his son Shiki, but Shiki was tied up by the black mist and couldn't do anything. Shiki called out to Samadar and asked him to fight him instead of his father. Suichi was trying to grab Samadar in a final attempt to protect his son. Samadar asked him, "Why are you sacrificing yourself for a demon?" Suichi replied with words Shiki would never forget, "Of course I'll protect him. He's my precious son." Shiki stood there, shocked and frozen, unable to do anything to save his father. This is when the demonic power began to stir within him. His eyes turned red with blood due to his hatred for Samadar, and rage ignited in his heart like hellfire. He wanted to fight with all his might. Suddenly, blood exploded from his whole body, and his demon horns appeared. Our hero, who didn't know his true identity, finally awakened his full demonic power. All he wanted was revenge and to kill Samadar. Shiki broke free from his bonds in the blink of an eye and disappeared from the spot. He saw a full-fledged demon in front of him, and our hero Shiki was determined to kill him. Samadar started trembling with fear. He now knew he was facing a monster he couldn't possibly defeat. Shiki charged forward and attacked him, but Samadar was very strong and blocked all his attacks. Not only that, but he also cut off Shiki's arms. But Shiki's demon blood regenerated, and his arms came back as they were. Samadar was very scared because he understood that demons become stronger when they lose control of their power. This was the truth, because Shiki had lost control of himself and turned into a merciless monster. With his demon blood, Shiki created many weapons and began firing an endless barrage of bullets at Samadar. Suddenly, he launched a devastating rocket at him with a terrifying power our hero had acquired. Samadar couldn't do anything but flee from the force of the attack our hero unleashed. A large part of the warehouse was destroyed, but in the end, Samadar escaped and managed to save himself from death by a hair's breadth. Suddenly, Shiki lost all his demonic power and returned to his human form, shocked and not understanding what had happened. Samadar wanted to seize this opportunity and engage in battle again, so he stabbed him with the Black Mist sword. But nothing happened to Shiki because his father had sacrificed himself and saved him in the end. Suichi refused to abandon his son, even if he was a demon's son. At that moment, people gathered around the warehouse, so Samadar was forced to flee the area. Shiki wanted to call an ambulance to save his father, but his father asked him to stop so he could talk to him one last time. His father began to explain the truth to him, that he had hidden this from him because they would have killed him for carrying demon blood. Then he said goodbye to him and, in sad words, told him, "You have to become strong enough to defeat the Momotaro." Shiki refused to let his father die and wanted to help him in any way possible, but Suichi eventually died in his arms. Suichi's last words were, "I wish the demons and the Momotaro could live side by side, just like the relationship between me and my son Shiki." Shiki was very shocked and couldn't believe he had lost his father. He was filled with regret and begged him to get up so he could apologize for his terrible actions. Shiki cried bitterly because he had lost the only person who had sacrificed for him. At that moment, a strange person appeared and moved at lightning speed around Shiki. It seemed this demon wanted to recruit him for his team. On the other side, the Momotaro organization was very angry at Samadar's failure and felt that the Momotaro's level had dropped a lot recently. The Momotaro members had died and lost their bodies, but their minds were still active, and they wanted to fight the demon children before their power became unbearable. The demon director began calling Naito, the person who had taken Shiki. Naito was gathering the strong demon children to teach them how to control their powers. Even the demons were preparing to eliminate the Momotaro, led by this strange person they called the director, who had gathered a large group of demons, including our hero Shiki. But Naito thought Shiki was very weak. Naito told the director that he would test Shiki's power, and if he turned out to be useless, he would get rid of him. Shiki remembered his childhood days when he didn't know he was a demon. He would play in the sand like all children, and his father loved him and took care of him. But suddenly, the scene of his father's murder at the hands of the Momotaro repeated itself, and the nightmare was terrible. Our hero woke up, tied to a chair, with Naito next to him. It turned out that Naito was the one who made him have the nightmare to wake him up. Naito told Shiki that he hates polite people. Shiki was confused and didn't know who this man was. Naito introduced himself and told him that he was a demon like him, and to prove it, he showed him his horns. Naito told him that his father's body was safely stored with them and said, "I came to you for two reasons, to evaluate you and to bring you back to consciousness." He then taught him that anyone who can control the Black Mist is from the Momotaro organization. Since the main goal of this organization was to eliminate demons, the demons created the Urn organization to confront them. Naito's job is to look for awakened urns, like our hero Shiki, to evaluate their power and see if they can join the organization. He began to remove the cover from Shiki's mouth to ask him questions, but Shiki was very stubborn and threatened to kill Naito if they did anything to his father's body. So Naito deducted points from the test. Naito looked at him and said, "I told you before that your father's body is safely stored. It seems you don't get it." But Shiki didn't trust Naito at all. Naito continued to evaluate whether he was worthy of joining the Urn organization, and Shiki continued in his foolishness, ordering him to release his bonds. He decided to calm down a bit and try to convince Naito to release him. Our hero put on a fake smile, even though he was actually very angry, and asked Naito to let him go so he could take revenge on the man who killed his father. Naito acted coldly and mocked his fake smile, which made Shiki furious again. He realized there was no hope with this man. Naito decided to test him in another way. He took the strap from his neck and at lightning speed put it around Shiki's neck and began to choke him with all his might. He said, "The closer you get to death, the more your true nature will show. Use your small brain and figure out how to get out of this situation, or you'll die." A disaster befell our hero. His hands were tied and he couldn't bear the choking. Blood began to come out of his eyes and he refused to die, but he couldn't handle it and fainted. Naito confirmed that Shiki was just a useless fool and needed to be eliminated. But at that moment, Shiki's blood suddenly gathered and turned into thorns that attacked Naito. Shiki quickly reached Naito and shot him with bullets. Our hero had turned into a demon again, but Naito also transformed and blocked Shiki's attack with his own earned blood. He told Shiki, "You lost 100 more points because you don't know how to use your earned blood. Now I'll show you the right way to use it." Shiki became very angry and attacked Naito, wanting to kill him, but Naito defeated him with ease. Shiki woke up afterward, not remembering anything that had happened. It turned out that the entire room was destroyed from Naito's fight with the demon Shiki. Naito told him that it's difficult to control earned blood and that its user loses a sense of self and memory, which is what happened to Shiki. But he was foolish and didn't believe Naito's words. He asked Naito about the strange substance that was coming out of him. The fool didn't even understand that it was the earned blood. Naito gave him a historical line. "A knife in the hands of an ignorant person is a scary thing." Because our hero was foolish and didn't understand the power of earned blood, Naito began to explain to him how to control his blood and told him, "You're not qualified to be with us." But Shiki's mind was closed and he couldn't comprehend anything. All he understood was that this man was very strong. He said to him, "You're a provocative person, but you're very strong, so I will swallow my pride here and make you my teacher." But Naito replied and rejected what he was saying. He said, "Not using your mind in battle equals death, and you're a fool who can't control your blood. We don't need a useless person like you." Shiki's face turned red with anger because of Naito's provocative words. Even though he had lost his dignity and humbled himself to be his follower, Naito didn't care about his pride and rejected him outright. "The time has come for me to get rid of you. I can't let someone like you live freely." Naito cut his finger with a ring and created a shield of his earned blood. Shiki understood how to control the earned blood and chose not to surrender to death. He began to rub his hand hard on the ground to cut it. Naito turned the shield into sharp thorns and attacked Shiki with great recklessness. But Shiki used the thorns to jump and succeeded in controlling his earned blood, turning his arm into a cannon. But Naito blocked his shot with one finger and broke it in front of him. He said to Shiki, "Son, you're so pathetic. You failed to control the earned blood again." The demon blood took control of Shiki, and he began to go into a frenzy more and more. Naito was convinced that Shiki was useless and wanted to kill him by any means. He used special abilities and created dozens of soldiers from his earned blood, ready to kill Shiki. But Shiki refused to give up and succeeded in controlling the earned blood and didn't go into a frenzy. Naito backed down from killing him and said to Shiki, "You not only controlled your blood, but you also controlled the frenzy state." He asked him, "How were you able to do that?" Shiki used the situation to his advantage and said, "If you want to know, let me be your follower." But Shiki couldn't wait and told him that he imitated his method when he made the shield. Shiki also screamed inside his head to create a weapon from his arm. Naito replied and said, "It's impossible for a foolish person to control the earned blood. Control of it must be done with the mind." So Naito controls his emotions so he doesn't enter the frenzy state. Shiki didn't always act with his mind. He always used instinct to control his blood. Naito looked at him and said, "You have a lot of flaws, but you have a tremendous energy inside you." Shiki then said, "I will absorb everything you teach me. I want to become stronger and kill the Momotaro, so let me be your follower." But Naito refused again because Shiki was reckless and risked his life. Naito made a spear from his earned blood to kill Shiki and embedded it in his head. He said to him, "I wasn't even thinking of making you my follower for a second, but I will make you my disciple." Shiki was shocked and didn't understand anything Naito was saying, but the important thing was that he succeeded in the test he wanted and would join the earned team. Naito then took him to their academy and began to explain everything about it to him. It was on an island called the Threshold of Hell, and Naito would be his teacher. He told him that he would live in a dorm, train every day, and fight the Momotaro organization. Naito told him that if he didn't become strong, he would be expelled. Shiki was excited to improve his strength and didn't care which school he would join. Then Naito took him to change his clothes, and our foolish hero discovered his horns. Naito told him that these horns are proof that his earned blood has awakened, and that with training, he will be able to make them appear and disappear. Shiki was very excited to join the earned school, but Naito told him that he was the weakest one who had joined the school. Shiki started asking him again about his father, so he told him that his body was in the morgue. Shiki felt regret over losing his father, but Naito told him to become stronger so he wouldn't feel regret, and that a fool is someone who doesn't learn from their experiences. This was the first time Shiki felt comfortable with Naito and felt that he was a good person to be with. But Naito hates people who praise him, so he ran to the school and ordered Shiki to run after him. Shiki was very excited about the idea and thought of a grand way to enter his class, but Naito gave him a light blow, and Shiki entered in a very stupid way. Not only that, but he also lost his prestige in front of the new students. But Shiki tried to control his nerves and act as if nothing had happened to make them forget the stupid way he entered. He began to bully a person wearing a mask named Jin and asked him for a tissue. But Jin hit him with some words and told him not to talk to him again. Shiki got very angry at him and started laughing at him because he didn't have horns, but Jin shocked him by controlling his horns. Our hero stood there stunned that he was indeed the weakest one in the class. At that moment, another boy who hated noise in the class tried to calm the situation down as if he were the head of the family. Shiki looked around and said that this was the weirdest class he had ever seen. Suddenly, Naito appeared and told them, "We're not here to play." So Shiki was forced to sit next to Jin. Then Naito told them that their first lesson was a game of tag. Shiki actually thought it was a real game. But Naito took them to an area called Shinra Forest and told them, "You have only 1 hour to get back to school. If any of you get caught, you'll be tied up immediately. If all of you get caught, the game will end instantly." The foolish Shiki thought it was just a game of tag, but Naito told him that anyone who fails this lesson will be permanently expelled from the school. He told Shiki, "This is not a normal school. It's training to increase your strength. After graduation, all of you will be on the front lines to face the Momotaro organization." He told them that he would not use his blood power in this lesson. Jin looked at him and said, "Aren't you afraid that we might kill you since you won't be using your power?" He replied, "Try your luck. If you succeed in killing me, you'll graduate immediately and be assigned to the unit of your choice." Shiki realized that if he killed the teacher, he would graduate immediately and be able to confront the man who killed his father. But Naito told them that this lesson was not as easy as they thought. There would be obstacles in their way. Everyone was very excited for this test, but Shiki didn't seem ready. So Naito looked at him and said, "You don't seem ready." But Shiki said, "No, I'm very ready and prepared to win and take revenge on the Momotaro." Will our hero Shiki succeed in this lesson? And will he be able to control the earned blood? We'll find out all of this in the next episode.